Today on Ibogaine Uncovered, we're joined by Mike Stratton, co-founder of Merak Health and a multi-time alumnus of Beond. Mike has spent over a decade working at the intersection of performance, longevity, and precision health, collaborating with professional athletes, high-level executives, and founders long before these approaches became mainstream. Through this work, he's seen firsthand both the power and the limits of optimization-focused health strategies. Merak Health is a precision medicine and telehealth platform focused on comprehensive diagnostics, hormone optimization, longevity, and performance medicine, designed for individuals who want data-driven long-term health strategies rather than fragmented symptom-based care. Over the past 5 years, Mike has returned to Beond for Ibogaine 7 times, each experience peeling back deeper layers and contributing to greater resilience, cognitive clarity, and sustained relief from burnout. Rather than chasing stimulation or short-term performance gains, he describes Ibogaine as a process of nervous system reorganization, one that continues to compound over time. In this episode, we explore why Ibogaine represents a fundamentally different category of intervention. We discuss its neurocognitive and emotional effects, including changes in clarity, motivation, stress resilience, and personal growth, alongside emerging conversations around neuroplasticity and GDNF. Mike shares how Ibogaine has impacted his performance in the gym, his leadership, and his inner life, and why he doesn't view it as a performance enhancer, but as a reset of the operating system itself. We also talk about why Merak Health has formed, where modern healthcare falls short for high-functioning individuals, and what true 360-degree care looks like when medicine, environment, integration, and community work together. This conversation is for anyone who has optimized their health but is curious about what happens when the operating system itself gets a reset. It's great to have you on Ibogaine Uncovered. Thank you for being here. You've been to Beond now many times over the last 4 years, something like that. And you've worked with nearly every performance and health optimization tool available on the market. So I'm curious why you think Ibogaine belongs in a conversation about high performance at all.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing to be here. This place has become a home to me. The people, the facility, it's changed my life permanently. I'll start with that. So when it comes to optimization, that was largely my background, and that was my desire, was to uncover new tools, processes, treatments to be supernatural, right? And I heard about the power of Ibogaine in a couple of different facets, and I had experience with other plant medicines as well. And it opened me up, and it got my curiosity. And I noticed how it helped with my creativity as an entrepreneur, how it helped with my center when dealing with people, leading, recruiting, vision, and mission setting. Here's what I will say about Ibogaine. My ideas when I had my first experiences in floods of its impact on optimization have radically changed. So in the beginning for me, Ibogaine it made me feel like a little kid again. So when it came to my energy, when it came to my mental clarity, when it came to connectivity with my body, I felt I discovered the ultimate nootropic. And nootropics and cognition is something I've been experimenting with different substances and therapies for a very long time. Nothing touched Ibogaine. It's made almost every other chemical for performance enhancement in that aspect irrelevant. What I later found with Ibogaine is it's much more powerful than just a surgical intervention on a chemical level. But what it did for me in connecting my soul in spirituality and changing me supersedes any performance benefits that you might feel from taking the substance. Kind of like a coffee. It's not the biochemical effects. Those are there and they're very potent and powerful. But later on, I realized the shift that it made within me permanent. And now I'm on less substances, chemicals, therapies, procedures than ever. And I feel optimized. today.
So you're saying the ultimate biohack optimization is a connection to your spiritual self.
Without a doubt. Yes.
And when you first came years ago, you're saying you could, after coming through Beyond, you could feel a neurocognitive difference that was much different compared to peptides or other protocols you were using. Can you share a little bit more about that? Like,
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first did my treatments, I was just amazed and awestruck about the recovery from the flood. When I came back to life, I've since I was a kid, I haven't felt that level of clarity, energy in a sustainable way. It was the ultimate thermostat regulator for my body, right? In the past, I had used various nootropics, racetams, phenylpiracetam. I've used various peptides to modulate how I felt. So really, I've been somebody that has been seeking to regulate and alter my neurochemistry and my nervous system without realizing the reason why. And Ibogaine, for the first time, showed me that, wow, regulating my nervous system can be an inside job. I have a chemical factory inside of my body, right? There's nootropics that are already present within me. And Ibogaine helped show me that. So it helped show me that there are physical body practices, there are spiritual practices that naturally outperform some of these substances. So that's what I used to look for. I used to look for hacks. And then I found that I think my body contains everything I need. So it's been powerful.
that's incredible.
Yeah.
I think that's true for a lot of entrepreneurs who are building, you've built Merak over the last many years. It's a quick growing company in the healthcare space. We can talk about that later. It involves blood work and labs and a lot of optimization for pro athletes, for entrepreneurs. But I think that's right. Like that, the emotional piece, a lot of friends and colleagues that are entrepreneurs have been trying to regulate their nervous system since they were children, and we start companies or create these projects so that we can feel this the dopamine or the excitement. So the fact that you came to Ibogaine as a performance enhancing tool and then over the years have come back and found this spiritual connection is really interesting. Can you say more about the spiritual piece as well?
Yeah. And I'll start just to round that out. I came looking for the ultimate chemical intervention. And what I found was a systems upgrade and an antivirus. So it was really the removal versus the addition, right?
Like what was always there
What was
versus adding something on, like another stack or another part of your stack in your protocol.
exactly. And I've witnessed this. We'll probably get into this conversation. I'll let you lead the way, but I've also had the benefit of witnessing, just like you, so many patrons of Beyond. And I've seen a lot of characteristics in somebody that might be a success chaser or somebody that's entrepreneurial or somebody that creates stress or thrives on stress to feel. And I've seen their approach and their mindset to Ibogaine. And I think for myself, I witness it and I smile sometimes because when I first took Ibogaine, I was telling everybody in my circle about its performance benefits. And like I mentioned, it was later when I started learning the medicine more and experiencing with it more that it really is a system upgrade, operating system wise. So sometimes I see people fixated on the chemical feel and I'm fixed permanently when really I view it as it's a beta test. It's like it gives you a sample of what life could be. And it's up to you to figure out how to get there after the drug wears off.
And maybe even for those that care about mental clarity, performance enhancement, sustainable energy, it's a way to get people through the door and then they end up finding much more later. Can you talk a little bit about the changes, for those people that are more focused on performance enhancement? Can you talk a little bit about like what you noticed on a practical level related to clarity, focus, decision making after the first time you did Ibogaine? What your life was like before as an entrepreneur and then what you were like in the months afterwards?
Yeah. So, in my life, work-wise, I didn't go to college. I started working right away, and I knew without college, I was in sales. That's what I was in. I was in sales within the fitness or wellness space. And for the life that I wanted, I knew that I needed to create some sort of financial income or outcome that I wanted. And without the college degree, it left me with limited options. So I've never had a salary in my life. It was always performance and hunting. And I became good at it.
Like you had a base salary, but it was based
I've
on
never had a base salary. It was
Oh.
all commission.
all commission based.
Those
You
were
were
the oppor-
constantly hunting the next deal so that you could eat and build this life that you wanted.
Right, or that I thought I
That
wanted.
thought you wanted at
That
the
I
time.
thought that I thought I wanted. So being in that context, I noticed I had to work more. I had to perform longer. I had to prevent burnout. I needed to be in a good state of mind to interact and serve customers, right? This is what led me in the first place to using different treatments, substances, chemicals to alter my performance, whether it be stimulants, whether it be nicotine, caffeine, all of these things. And when I was younger, in my early 20s, I felt like Superman and I could just go all day long, right? Uh, Years later, it caught up with me. And these substances were not sustainable. These working methods were not sustainable. And at the time, I didn't realize it was just a season of my life. I thought it was the rest of my life was going to feel that way. And
Right. Because when you're in it, you can't see a way out.
100%. Or I think that this is what got me here, so I have to continue.
I have to keep doing it. Right.
So when I reached, I'd be an entrepreneur and starting my last two companies and building something that's working and is creating opportunities for team members. It's creating a beneficial service for the marketplace and consumers. I feel a responsibility.
Right. There's a pressure to sustain it. People are, you've hired employees. They're feeding their families. It's growing, but you have to keep up with the same level of energy to keep it going.
Yes. And I'm the type of person, or at least I used to be, where I don't want to show people anything but my best. And it's a maladaptive behavior, or it was. And I've learned to recognize and overcome that a bit.
You mean you had a hard time being vulnerable around what's really going on?
Yeah, I thought my worth was tied to
Your
how
output.
charismatic or my output
your
or
charisma.
achievements. And it led me, I've founded healthcare companies and wellness companies. And I think it was necessary as CEO and founder to put my work first. And there are seasons, and when you're building something from the ground up, you're putting in 80 hours a week. What I did, though, as an owner of a healthcare company, I went years without working out. The reason I did this was to have time to pursue my passions. All I did was work, right? So I found myself a couple of years in without my health, without my physical confidence, without expression through exercise. And I found myself burnt out, and I was less than normal, right? Like I was performing less than normal at that point. And that's when depression and anxiety cycles in. Because I don't know if it's just me, but I think I've found this in other high achievers or high performances. There might be a sickness involved in that. And
it's an imbalance. I mean, if you don't have human connection, if you're not getting 8 hours of sleep, we know this from functional medicine doctors. We know this from other researchers. These basics that a balanced life gives you will ultimately lead you to burnout and depression.
And at the time, I tend to think time moves maybe differently for me. I tend to think of whatever I'm experiencing right now is forever. That's all it is, right? So sometimes I used to struggle to realize, hold on, this is temporary. You're not going to feel like this forever, but it felt all or nothing. And I think there's other high achievers that feel that way sometimes. And I think maturity is realizing recovery is just as important. So that's been the cornerstone for me.
So you're depressed, you're burnt out, you're working 80-hour weeks. What happens at that point?
So what happened at that point was physical sickness, lack of connection with what truly mattered, my real friends, my family, my spouse, connection with myself. I was in a position of just serving others all day long and thinking that was noble.
Like in front of your computer?
Yeah. And, putting my needs secondary. And it led me to, a point where I'm thinking in terms of absolutes and permanency. And I'm thinking I can't live my life like this anymore. But if I change, I'm going to lose all my dreams and I'm going to lose everything that I set out to build. And that was an existential crisis. So chemical dependency, habit loops like that just kept building and building, and I felt like I couldn't escape. When, I'd researched Ibogaine for years, like I told you, and at the time I couldn't find a reputable clinic or a facilitator. There were some dangerous places that I was aware of, and I almost thought about going. I'm glad I didn't. And when I reached kind of my rock bottom there, it wasn't a rock bottom. It was really me. It was me advocating for my own life that I need to get whole.
So it was hopeful because there's a willingness. You wanted this change. But you were at the bottom. You said, I'm done. It wasn't like you were going to self-harm, but you were ready to take that next step. So
I didn't want to quit. I just could not keep going.
you didn't have a choice that way.
Yeah.
So how did you find us?
So Hail Mary and synchronicity, I happened to try one more time to research Ibogaine, and all of a sudden Beond was open. So I came to you guys in September of 2022 for the first time. And when did you guys open?
Around earlier that year.
Yeah. So it was relatively fresh, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you found us.
I'm glad
So yeah, talk a little bit about the changes you noticed right after related to, sustainable energy, mental clarity, physical performance, your training in the gym. How did the balance in your life shift and the connection to maybe work and feeling like you had to be pulling your weight for everyone all the time, that pressure?
Absolutely. I can talk in terms of like the biohacker perspective too, of the surface level benefits. Like one of the things is coming to a facility like this, the experience is the medicine is something that you guys say, and I couldn't agree more. So for me, somebody that has to make so many decisions on a daily basis, I was able to show up here and feel like a little kid where someone would knock on my door and say, hey, it's time to wake up. Wow, that's one decision I didn't have to make. Great. Step 2, breakfast is ready. Wow, I'm going to eat breakfast for the first time in 3 years. Great. Step 3, hey, Mike, do you want to join and do yoga? Wow, I've been agonizing over working out and I overthink it all. Paralysis by analysis. I would love to join this. So not just the medicine, but the routine really helped anchor a circadian rhythm, and it reduced my need to make decisions. You guys have built a holistic program that serves mind, body, and soul. So frankly, one of the reasons that I come and visit is to do a reset, shut down my decision-making, reset my baseline health procedures, circadian rhythm, etc., and then the medicine piece. So for the biohackers or optimizers that are interested in some of those chemical benefits, one of the things that I feel Ibogaine does is puts you in a sustained brainwave pattern, similar to like a trance, where I am both highly alert but highly parasympathetic. So I have enough energy to move into movement, laughter, a conversation, and I'm able to task switch back to relaxation. So there is this calm, energetic field that I've been trying to manufacture with chemicals for years. And it just provides that inconsistency. So I think the power, one of the powerful things of Ibogaine is how sustained its actions are. It gives you enough time to integrate, right? So I think that is highly powerful. It's like a meditative state.
Do you notice that each time you come from the last time you've evolved? Or for people listening, is it like you're going back words each time after, some people think because the critical period ends 3 months after
Yeah.
Ibogaine, the critical period, the learning period where you can create new habits, where, your neurotransmitters are making changes. I'm very curious if you've seen an evolution in yourself each time, and if you can share more about that.
100%. Yeah, for me, it's not that. So sometimes when I tell people that I've engaged with this medicine or came here multiple times, in their head, they're thinking cure or chemical interruption or surgical aspect. And it must not work. Why do you keep coming back, Mike? That doesn't make sense. I thought this solves everything. It's not that I'm falling backwards and it doesn't work. It's that I'm gaining actual sustainable processes, mindsets to regulate my nervous system, and change is nonlinear. So what I found immediately is I became addicted. The early phases, I wasn't as mature or aware. Things have shifted now, but
You mean in 2022 when you first came?
yes, yes, and things have radically shifted since in the best way possible. But immediately I became addicted to exercise again, which I welcomed because my whole life and passion was exercise. That's what I do for a living is we have partners with my heroes, right? These are my heroes. And I'm working with my heroes and I'm not even exercising anymore. That was my passion. I competed in strongman. I was a trainer. That was my
You
life.
couldn't even do what you loved anymore, and you started the company to do it,
Right.
right?
So I
So
immediately
you started to get back to the gym afterwards. That was a new habit you started.
I became enthralled in what it did is it provided some structure for me and let alone the health benefits. But those were some of the biggest changes. And one of the things was I never really engaged in massage or body work or much mobility prior. And because you guys offer consistent body work opportunities and mobility and movement, wow, I absolutely integrated that in my permanent routine. I found that because I can be an anxious person. And I found the looser and more connected my body tissues become, the looser my mind becomes. I really do believe it. So again, I think the medicine just gave me a good space to really enjoy all the therapeutics you offer. And I've basically recreated Beond in my own home and with my friends. So rather than socializing by going out to a bar or something like that, I try to invite my friends to come cold plunge with me. I try to invite them to sauna or to do a physical challenge and then have a conversation about life.
That's awesome. So you completely changed your lifestyle, added these structures and workshops and various tools. We have a buffet of tools here at Beyond: body work, cold plunge, sound healing, yoga. And now you invite your friends, and as we talked about, like, that social piece is such a big piece. How about, so did it shift your connection to, or the way you felt stress, like, and your relationship with the work imbalance?
Yeah, at first it was difficult. I had a lot of fear and I had a lot of black or white thinking of permanence where I thought to myself, I can either have a healthy body, mind, and soul, or I can have a successful career. I can't have both. So the difficult part was by re-engaging in my own health spiritually and physically, I knew that that is what truly mattered for me. That's what's most important. But I had a lot of fears, performance anxiety that how how can I manage both? I'm an all or nothing person. I built this company by being all or nothing. So there is these delusions. It turned out not to be true because I can do both. And I am doing both. And it actually is more balance. This work-life balance. I do think that there are seasons for all this stuff, right? A deployment for 3 years, so to speak, where you lean heavy on one aspect of your life. But I no longer have this all or nothing permanence when it comes to time, feelings. I have a more relaxed long-term vision. So it's a mindset shift.
Why do you think, well, can you talk a little bit more about the spiritual connection you found, and why do you think that is often overlooked in high performing or high functioning people in general?
So I absolutely can, and I'll start by saying this is just my interpretation, means little, but what I've observed is I get to hang out with other guests here who have become my friends and business associates, but I meet with other high achievers and we vibe, right? So what I see is I see them sometimes focusing heavily on how the Ibogaine makes them feel. And sometimes I think they're a little unprepared for this state will change. It's not going to, you're not going to be under the influence forever. So what else are you changing? Are you finding some root causes for your behaviors, etc.? So like for me, the first experiences I had with Ibogaine, I call them hell rides. They were very intense, brutal. I was unprepared. I thought I knew what a plant medicine felt like, and this was unlike any other medicine. And it was very challenging. And early on, I thought that was just how the medicine is. Little do I know that some people come to the medicine peaceful and zen, and their experience is peaceful and zen. So
what you show up with consciously is what is magnified as medicine, which is why the preparation and the nervous system relaxation tools offered is so important. But of course, also it's not a bad thing. People that have heavy anxiety and that sometimes is magnified to show them what their mind is like and what they need to work on. But this is very interesting because you're saying over time your mind state, which we've already talked about, has shifted. So now you come to the medicine in a completely different way. I'd love to hear from the hell rides what that looks like now.
Well, the hell rides, what it was, I'm an ADD person and I'm very cerebral, right? And I spend a lot of time in my own head. And what it felt like was 30 years of unresolved thought loops all exploded at once. And it was insane to try to deal with and process. What I found after the treatment is my mind was blank. I didn't have thought loops anymore.
You mean even the day after those hell rides, you felt a peace?
Yes, I processed. So all of those loops, I realized that all those loops keep me in the past and the future, and they take me away from the present, that's where you access creativity, right? And what I found after the Ibogaine, even the hell rides, is I noticed I'm not thinking about anything. There's nothing going on in here. That's weird. Am I dumb now? Did this ruin me? And what it was presence.
I mean, I find that very common now, witnessing so many people as they have this deep sense of peace, almost like what a monk would feel in a temple.
Yeah.
The space between thoughts for days afterwards, which is such a gift.
So in my later experiences, like I like it. I crave being disciplined and I crave doing hard things and experiencing it. Like I want to go in there and I want to do it. You know what I mean?
And you want it to be tough.
And I want it to be tough. And these things were really tough. So this is probably why I've done it a few times because I want to overcome myself. What I found in later experiences is it wasn't a hell ride. It was a teaching moment. I feel Ibogaine or working with it taught me what meditation is and means. I feel it taught me how to breathe. Therefore, it taught me how to regulate my nervous system. And in my later experiences with Ibogaine and the medicine, it was a conversation. It was a teaching moment. And I look forward to it. I learned things. I learned how to work with the medicine more, right? I know there's levels to it. I don't have it all figured out, but it became an enjoyable process, which is very different than the beginning. The beginning was suffer and endure for the end result. Now it's, wow, I can't wait.
Now it's like, how can I partner with this?
Yes.
Versus, I think a lot of people go in the first few times and they're fighting it almost.
And I notice now.
Well, it's really a tool to understand your mind, and you've seen over time by integrating through the years how your mind has gotten better before each time after you work with it, and then you come back to it and have cleared more and more. It sounds like.
Yeah. So Talia, in the beginning when I came here, it was probably my normal stasis, and I didn't realize I didn't want to look people in the eyes. I didn't want to talk with them. Now, when I did the medicine, I did a 360. I was a completely different person the next day. Now, when I've done the medicine, who I am before I take it and who I am after is pretty much the same.
Like
That
you're
is
connecting with people before they come. You're looking them in the eyes. You have
Yeah,
that.
the presence that, Ibogaine once radically shifted me, now I notice in my waking life, there's not much difference between Mike.
Okay, so I'm sure people listening are curious. Why come back then? What is the yeah? What do you get now? If it's truly become like an optimization tool for you, and no longer is it about your trauma or your depression.
Yeah,
Talk a little bit about how you've seen improvements the last few times and why continue. I mean, I think you can always optimize more
sure.
and more, but
Well, I can't predict the future, but I would wager that, my encounters with the medicine will change. They probably won't be as frequent. They won't be as necessary. Really, I'm just trying to play it, step by step and see what benefit I'm getting. Really, why I've done it, like why I'm here right now is just, it's the beginning of the new year. I think I had probably the best year of my life last year.
what does that look like?
The best year of my life is, maybe it sounds silly. I don't think in this context or conversation it's silly, but I reconnected with my soul. You know what I mean? And that excites me. And I used to obsess about strategizing, goal setting, vision setting for things. Now I made a promise during my sessions that I will honor what my soul wants. And that could be hard because sometimes you have to say no to this vision you used to have for yourself. And it can feel like you're giving stuff up.
Sure, you have to say no to certain relationships. You have to say no to other commitments.
Yeah.
So what does that look like practically? How do you talk to your soul, and how do you know now what it wants? And can you just give a few examples?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I have a lot of work to do still, but step one for me is a balanced nervous system. I don't like making decisions if I am very susceptible still to moments of overwhelm, moments of stress, which can be a fuel when harnessed properly, but I'm still susceptible to that. So I try to make decisions when I'm in connection with my soul. For me, at this point in my journey, it's largely body. So doing breath work followed by meditation, I'm communicating with my soul. I pretend that I'm in my Ibogaine journey and it connects me there. I visualize and I leave that and I feel centered.
So then you can make better decisions and work. So you
Exactly.
have a whole system when you wake up to be centered so that you can make better decisions throughout your workday.
I,
As stress, comes up with a very demanding, company that's growing quickly. Also, can you speak a little bit to, what is Merak Health, and
yeah.
why did you start it, and what year was that?
Yeah. So my partner Derek and I, more plates, more dates, we started Merrick at the end of 2020. So him and I were at another similar company before. We exited and we restarted this brand. It was during the pandemic. So we started a telemedicine based business. We were relatively original on the scene at that point in time.
You were early.
We were early. Yes, we were early. There was other telemedicine providers, etc. But what we did in the field of hormone optimization, performance medicine, and longevity care or preventative, that was largely unique. And we did it with partners and affiliates. And we were relatively fresh with those concepts. What's happened over the last 2 years is this industry has exploded.
Peptides are everywhere, for example.
They're
Also, hormone therapy.
They're everywhere. In what telemedicine is it's a verb. It's a delivery of virtual care, but they're not created equal. So like with our company, there are companies in the field that provide medications. You want a medication, you go to get approved for the medication. If you are, you take it. What we are, if you think of a wealth management firm, they're going to meet with a customer at varying ages, right? They're going to have a different risk tolerance at those ages. And if they're a good firm, they're going to work with you through death in your estate planning. We like to think of ourselves as a health span management firm. So what we do is we don't judge people on their goals. We work with bodybuilders, people that are obsessed with their performance. We also work with individuals that are obsessed with preventing the need of medication. So a lot of our customers aren't taking any meds. So what's different about Merak, or at least what we're trying to serve in this industry, is when you work with us, you get a dedicated health coach. They are there to be your one-stop concierge and guide, not just treatment plan A, see it in 5 years, but an evolving periodized plan that fits your goals, needs, health outcomes. But we treat the whole system. So it starts with diagnostic. It starts with investigation, a needs assessment call, and goal setting, followed by diagnostic measures, followed by consults with our medical providers, and then treatment if indicated. But we're huge believers in lifestyle interventions, supplementation, different practices, and then medications if indicated or valued. Some people value enhancing above what's natural, right? So that's kind of our unique edge in the marketplace. And one thing I pride ourselves on is, we have a team of about 140 people right now. We've grown it over the last 5 years. It doesn't matter if it's my customer service team, my clinical providers, my health coaches, my marketing team. It's a Merak team member when you meet them. I believe that our key advantage is how experienced we are when it comes to the technical application of therapies, not just advertising the newest trend, but truly maximizing results and minimizing risk. So we walk that balance and fine line. I think we do it better than just about anybody.
Wow, that's incredible. Can you talk about what happens? So you get all types of clients and interests. What happens for those people? Well, I don't know. Let's cut that. What should we talk about next, do you think, as it relates to Merak, that you can use for your...
I don't know. I think that's kind of good because one of the things I'm trying to reframe is market education. And I need to get the point across that just because it's called telemedicine, you can't compare apples to oranges. And I need to get to the point where I clarify who my brand is specifically meant to serve and who is better off somewhere else. So I need to go through an education phase. So this is off the, we're not, but function for instance, right? So they do the diagnostics and they take an approach of foods to change or what have you. And then at this point in time, they don't have the medical treatment side to implement it. I think they're getting there. My business is there to evaluate and implement these treatments as a one-stop shop.
Right. You can offer people supplements. You offer people peptides now.
Yeah. And the core of what truly makes us unique is constant coaching. It is our health coaches. That is our value proposition. That is what's unique. So we get paid for our service, but we don't charge for it. We don't do memberships. Everybody gets that service.
So everyone gets matched with a health coach and they continue to speak to them and improve over time. They probably go back and retest labs in 6 months, see how their plan is working for their unique
We are in
lifestyle.
we are in the business of transformation and goal achievement. If people are not reaching their goals or transforming, we are in a bad relationship and we should move on. Our goal is not to just provide a protocol to follow for the rest of your life. It's to hold our members accountable to what they said they want, which is achievement of a result. So that's where it bridges the gap. It's not just the technical application. It's about having a coach, similar to your integration specialist. It's about how do you influence the mind to clarify what your real goal is and desire, and how to implement the steps and habits to get there.
So essentially, Ibogaine could be a great tool for Merak customers. How do you know when they're ready for Ibogaine?
Well, I mean, you would have to tell me. I don't know who I am to speak to that. There's thoughts that the medicine calls to you or what have you. But here's what I will say. I've probably witnessed firsthand. I know you've witnessed thousands. I've witnessed firsthand, 60 or so people go through Ibogaine treatment of various different walks of life or conditions. I have never seen anybody leave without key insights, benefits, even if they're challenging. It's never been a meaningless experience. I've seen challenging experiences.
Maybe people aren't ready to face the things they need to change in their life, but I agree. I see insights after insights for people. I don't see people that do not get insights. What they decide to do with those insights are up to them, and we help provide tools and coaches and ongoing alumni support, weekly group support after they leave, and of course, it's up to them to engage.
So like where I see a combination here, so like you recently had an athletes cohort of Athletes Journey Home, a nonprofit ran by Ian McCall, UFC legend, good friend, and he came to Beyond in a cohort. Marek did diagnostics special for those guys before they came on site, and we're doing diagnostics afterwards, and they're specifically trying to work on TBI or understand how Ibogaine can heal the brain. And I know you've witnessed what you can talk about with that cohort. It's been powerful, but I think it's interesting to see what else Ibogaine can do from a physiology standpoint. So there's thoughts of it improving autoimmune conditions, the gut, sensitizing your body to hormones again at a receptor level, thyroid optimization, viral load decreases. I'm interested in testing these things. And if you don't test for it, meaning if you're testing for isolated things, you're going to miss the boat because we don't know what this compound can truly do.
Right. Through
So
Merak, we can test for everything before and
Yeah.
after, and we're starting to do that, like with the athletes
Yeah.
cohort. These guys had early onset, some of them 30, 40 years old, early onset dementia. I mean, yeah, TBI, and we're seeing the difference, and the testing is proving that afterwards. So
And
that's a partnership with Merak. I appreciate that.
of course, and I'm fascinated by it, and I can talk from my own. What I did realize is, like, I've dealt with health issues. That's why I got into this field in the first place. Long misunderstood, never diagnosed or cured reoccurring health problems in myself. And what I've been able to discover is it is largely immune modulated. That's something I'm working on now. But I was in bad shape health-wise when I first came here, and I noticed the Ibogaine improves my gut health, my appetite becomes ravenous, my body temperature improves, my autoimmune flare-ups like rashes, skin blisters improves, my brain fog goes away, and I'm in the process and still evaluating that, but I'm curious what this can do, whether it's a mindset or, your mind can heal your body, maybe that's what it does. Or maybe on a chemical level, it's actually treating, whether temporary or long term, these issues. That's what I'm curious what you guys are finding.
Yeah, I mean, we're tracking a lot of data, and we're seeing long-term improvements
Yeah.
over time.
Yeah.
And, all it and sometimes there's things I can't, like the other day, I had never seen it. I've seen people's eyesight improve, but, like, there's a man that you're on site right now who was colorblind his whole life, who is seeing shades of color for the first time, like, yeah, we see TBI, we see, Parkinson's like symptoms improving, and we pretty much, and PTSD, of course, and addiction, and these are well known, but then sometimes there's new cases for new conditions. I wouldn't call colorblind a condition, but to go through life and not be able to see, it's poetic to see color. To not be able to see, and then after it wasn't he didn't come here for that. He came for other reasons, but that's just a really interesting outcome that's new to me. I hadn't seen that before in thousands of cases. So, yeah, it's kind of mind-boggling, this medicine and all that it can do.
100%. And I'll add a quick thing when it comes to more, if people are interested in the quick biohack items. This is an opportunity to disengage from even things like caffeine and nicotine, or if you're prescribed medications for ADHD, which I think is in the records at this point in time, not including other substances like kratom that are involved at gas stations. But this is an opportunity to disengage with your habits, your habitual substances, or what have you. Disengage and reset. The Ibogaine and noribogaine will reset to a large degree these neurochemical pathways, and it'll even resensitize you to things like caffeine, to nicotine. And this is where the dangers come with reintroduction of some chemicals. But even on that aspect, what a great reset.
Yeah, and, like, people that are already really healthy who just have, are drinking coffee every day or maybe too much sugar at night, they don't even mean to stop those things, and they just don't want it anymore afterwards, which is
How,
really great.
I swear it makes you feel like a little kid again. How many times have you came up to me and said, your eyes? Like, what do you notice in people's eyes here? They're clear. They're vibrant.
I see a joy, I see a life, I see excitement again.
Yeah. Think of a healthy person that's not smiling. they don't seem that healthy, right? Somebody that's smiling seems healthy, right? And that's what everyone's doing around here.
Yes, there's a lot of smiling.
Yeah.
That's true. So not every tool is right for every person. That's something with Merrick. It's very customized. There's many different solutions. This is a powerful medicine. Who would you say Ibogaine is not for besides those that have cardiac risks, or a history of psychosis, but on a mindset level, who do you think Ibogaine is not for? Or do you think it's something that could help anyone, um, even if they're not willing?
Well, here's the conversation because I could say I personally don't think Ibogaine is for the person that wants a quick neurochemical event, such as, hey, I want to try this nootropic to see what it's like. But that was me. The reason I say it is because they might not be prepared for what it cracks open. So they might think they know what they want and they might get hit with a deeper realization. That's what happened to me. I wasn't expecting my soul to get brought to the surface, and I wasn't expecting all of the items that I needed to work on in my life to manifest, and that can be disruptive. I think it's a beautiful and good thing for most people, but are they prepared to deal with that? I think
That being said, knowing what you know now, would you have done it that first time regardless of maybe not being prepared? Or would you have, I'm sure, have
I
done
would have had to try it. Whether somebody told me or not, I would have had to see for
But
myself.
for those, I think people should know that be prepared. You're going to have to make changes. You might not want to look at certain things. You might have to make life changes that you're not ready for. So it really is, I think people should know that before they come. That's ethical and responsible.
They should take this seriously. So just like when I'm working with my clients and maybe we're undergoing like hormone therapy, for instance, and even if there is a lot of excitement and there's a lot of value alignment with some of the benefits, they do need transparency and understanding that, hey, there's people react differently to things, and what you think you want when you experience it, it might not be the outcome you're looking for, right? So there needs to be that communication and transparency with it.
That's a good point. What mindset do you think high functioning executives or athletes should bring to this work?
Surrender. So the biggest thing and why my first experiences were hell rides is because it showed me when I'm uncomfortable, I want to escape physically. Or if I can't, I want to escape mentally. And I don't want to endure what I don't want to endure, meaning I want control. So the medicine gave me a 12-hour plus experience of not having control to really sell it home. What I've noticed in people similar to me is that they want to do this procedure their way. When I came here, I wanted to run things my way. I wanted to get advice from you guys, but really I was trying to suss you out. I thought I knew better. I thought I knew what was best for me, right? What has radically shifted in my actual personality for the better with my team members, my family, whatever, and when I come here is I surrender to your process and I have patience and you guys put together the right therapeutic protocol. But even as I've been here recently, people want to control things. They're used to being the boss in their daily life. This is a beautiful opportunity to temporarily outsource your decision making and have faith and trust that the protocol is exactly what they need. I think if people could bring that mindset here, they would have an accelerated healing journey and a much better experience. They might be getting the one they need though by fighting it. But
Right. So, let go of how you think it should go. If somebody knocks on your door and it's time and eggs is the chosen breakfast with pancakes, or it's time for yoga, just do it.
try it.
Try it. Yeah, I love that. So, if Ibogaine isn't a treatment, but a reorganization, what do you believe is actually being reorganized?
Ooh,
This can be our landing. I mean,
yeah. What is being reorganized? On the biochemical front, or what it's doing on a receptor level in your cells, in the reset itself, the science, that's one aspect. But for me, this is just what I choose to believe and what I've experienced is it's a reorientation with your soul. that's the biggest thing that gets reorganized, I believe.
Would you say it's your soul first and then everything else follows? That's how the reorganization works.
Yes, because like for myself, for instance, when I made a commitment to honor my soul, that is faith, almost like a religious experience of having faith. I have faith now in my soul. And even when subconsciously my ego wants to say, oh, the soul told me to do this, but I don't really want to deal with that. If I can just do it anyways and have faith, whether it's God or what have you, it is the right path for me. It's faith for me.
Thank you for saying that. For anyone out there who is questioning this, what advice do you have for them?
I think if you're questioning it, you're probably a seeker in some format. I know your team is available for phone calls, right? I think they should do a discovery, or they should find, or if you enjoyed this episode, I'm just one perspective and I'm one avatar or personality type, but I would look at other podcasts with other members and see if you can relate in some semblance to somebody speaking about their journey, or research online, see who you can connect to, right?
I think that's right. Yes. There's a lot of perspectives and, there's a lot of content to look at to see if this is the right choice for your soul.
Yes.
How do people find you or follow Marek, follow your work?
Yeah, so the best place to go is www.merakhealth.com. That is MAREK health.com. And our Instagram and our YouTube is a great resource for education. So I would start there, because we want to provide education and information, not just the marketing and the sales of products or widgets, because it's not about the tools we use, it's about how we apply them. So again, at my company, we are passionate, we are fans. They're with Marek when you meet them. So if you vibe with our information, give us a call. We'd love to work with you as a client.
Love that. And if you do come to Beond, you can use Marek, of course, for your diagnostic and coaching needs before and after coming. And I think those results and the shift in your baseline will be very interesting as well.
Yeah, because you're going to leave here with kickstart and motivation, and anything you can do to add fuel to that fire, I think, is a beneficial feedback loop.
Agree. Well, it's been a pleasure to have you on today. Thank you so much. And yeah, thank you for being a Beond alumni, and just to know you is a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been amazing. This place is family, it's home, it's great.
Thank you so much.